Peace and blessings, everybody, and good morning on this beautiful Monday morning. I am Asia Nasir, founder and nonprofit strategist of my consulting firm, Utopian Enterprise Business Solutions, and author of my newly released book, Nonprofit Doesn't Mean No Profit, which you can purchase right now on Amazon. What I do and what I do every single day and what I have a true passion for is I work with aspiring and existing founders of nonprofit organizations to truly fulfill their missions in real time, and so that way they can make the impact in the communities that they're looking to serve. So as we do every week here on Facebook Live, as well as on our YouTube channel under Asia Nasir, we share nonprofit content that we think are going to be extremely instrumental to nonprofit organizations really, doing what I just said, being able to fulfill their missions in real time by paying attention to the details of things that many nonprofit organizations that are struggling don't pay attention to. So today is no different. This week is no different in what the content that we're going to be sharing, or the content I'm sharing this morning, which is mastering the art of volunteer management. And I think this is a crucial aspect of nonprofit, running your nonprofit in an efficient manner. As with for-profit businesses, they have employees. As long as you pay them, you have employees, they come and they do what it is that's necessary to run the business efficiently. However, with nonprofit, because of the budgets that nonprofits work on, many nonprofits work with volunteers, those that are volunteering their time, their expertise, and their resources for absolutely no charge, no pay at all. And if we don't pay attention as nonprofit organizations to this crucial piece in an organization, we're going to lose some very valuable people within the organization that is going to create our organization to run in an inefficient way, and it can slow us down or actually, destroy everything that you're looking to build. So, it's one thing to say, look, pay attention to your volunteers and make sure that you give your volunteers their just due. But the question is how? How do I do that in an organized way, in an efficient way, to make sure that, we're doing it right? And so that way it has longevity and it has the continuity that you're looking to have within your company. So that is what we're going to be sharing today, because there is an art. We know that people will go to a job that they absolutely hate. They'll go to a job that they absolutely hate, but they'll do it week after week, day after day, month after month, even year after year. Why? Because they're going to get a paycheck. That's different with nonprofit because they're not getting a paycheck. So if your organization is not running the business in an efficient way, these volunteers are not going to come back because there's nothing to come back to. There's no motivation or incentive to come back. So what you have to do is create the incentive for them to want to keep coming and volunteering their time, their expertise, their resources for absolutely no charge. So today I want to share 6 strategies for you to be able to master the art of managing that volunteer pool, that volunteer group of people that are looking to support your mission and support what it is that you're looking to do to make the impact that you want to make. So the first strategy that I want to share with you today is something that we absolutely don't do, especially grassroots nonprofits, and that's define the roles of the volunteers that you want to have in your organization. So, a lot of times what I'll see is nonprofit organizations just kind of put out, we're looking for volunteers. And that's great. You do need to put it out there. You need to get the word out that you're looking for volunteers to be able to support your nonprofit. However, what is even more important is the fact that you define what type of roles that you're looking for. So if you're looking for a specific role, maybe you're looking for someone who's a graphic designer, somebody who's going to be able to assist you in creating your flyers and your content that you're going to be putting out on social media or on your online platform. Maybe you're looking for someone who has IT skills, someone who can manage your website. Maybe you're looking for someone who has extensive, experience in the administrative field to be able to help you with the day-to-day administrative things that many of us clearly don't have the time to do because we're busy trying to network and get fundraising and things like that. And those are the details, those emails and those notifications and those thank you letters and all those things that need to go out. You need someone who's going to be able to do that on a continuous basis and on an efficient basis. So you may have to have someone who's really, really good at administrative work. So you may have specific volunteer roles that you're looking for. And if you don't make that clear, what you're going to get is people, and we need this. So this is not I want to make this clear. This is not to say that this is beneath or this is less than, but what you're going to do is sometimes you're going to get those that are going to come and say, look, I'll volunteer, but their volunteer work is to help set up, break down, do decorations and things like that. And you need that, right? But then what happens to those other positions that you didn't ask for? And what's the saying? Closed mouths don't get fed. So you have to make it clear that there may be specific roles that you're looking for, maybe accounting skills, maybe bookkeeping skills, things like that, to be able to help you with your nonprofit. So if there are specific roles that you need while you are asking for volunteers, make it clear what type of volunteers that you're looking for, that you are absolutely in need in, so people can find, hey, I like this organization, I love what they do, I love their mission. And you know what? I have a place here. They're looking for someone who has my level of expertise. I can truly contribute to this organization. That is an art. That is an art form, to be able to make the connection, because people are going to be more connected to and more the longevity that volunteer can see themselves in, because they can see that they have a place in this organization. They see that they have a role that is absolutely necessary for this organization to be able to run efficiently, and they can apply for those particular roles, right? The other thing is you need to recruit. You need to recruit. I actually have some nonprofit organizations, clients of mine, that I said, well, have you put the word out that you need volunteers? And they kind of look at me with the deer in the headlight look. And it's mainly because they're thinking that because they're putting out that they're a nonprofit organization, that people are just gonna say, hey, I want to volunteer. And so they actually don't even do any recruiting for it. And I write about this in my book, as I mentioned earlier, my newly released book, Nonprofit Doesn't Mean No Profit. A lot of grassroots nonprofit organizations, or just even existing nonprofits, they have this beggars can't be choosers attitude. And so they feel like they don't have a right to recruit, that if people want, they know we're an organization. So if they want to, volunteer, we'll leave it up to them. No, you have to recruit. You have to seek out those. And sometimes you may know that you need a particular position, or you need somebody to come in and volunteer sometime. You don't have the budget for it. You may have to go to them. You may have to go to them and specifically have a conversation with them and recruit them and ask them to be a part of your team. What would be the benefit? What's the benefit for them, and what's the benefit for your organization, right? So you may have to have that conversation and recruit. A lot of times, as I mentioned, we don't say anything, and closed mouths don't get fed. So define the roles that you want, recruit, and then actually have an application, a volunteer application, because this allows you to see if there are other skill sets that these volunteers may have. Maybe they work somewhere, or they have worked somewhere in the past where there's a connection or collaboration or partnership that you're seeking to have, and this particular volunteer actually worked with this organization or knows this person or whatever. So a volunteer application can give you much more than just their name and address and a contact number, but it can give you specific things like skill sets that they have. Have they volunteered in the past? Who have they volunteered with? That's a point of reference. You can call those other organizations and say, what was your experience with this volunteer? Just like you would anyone else. The more you get to know of this volunteer, the more references that you can call and actually say, hey, what type of volunteer, was this person? Then you can bring in people that are going to be of benefit and not a detriment to your nonprofit organization. So that's strategy number one. Strategy number 2 is when you get your pool of people, just like any other business, right? When you work for a company, a corporation, especially a big corporation, the first thing they do when they have a new pool of people coming into the company, they have you attend something that's called an orientation. And why do they do that? There's an art form to that. There is a method to that. Again, mastering the art of volunteer management. Transfer that into your volunteers. If you had your volunteers participate in an orientation for your nonprofit organization, what is an orientation? They're learning about the history of your organization. They're understanding more in detail what the mission of your organization is, who you're looking to help, why you're looking to help them, your goals, your future goals, and how they can contribute to those future goals. So again, it makes that connection to them that now they feel that they belong to something. They belong to an actual, real, live nonprofit organization that is looking to do something positive in the community, and that you need their assistance to be able to make that come to fruition. So now they're learning everything. Now, the more you know about someone, the more you become connected. The more you know about a company or a nonprofit organization, the more connected you are with that nonprofit, that you really want to do something positive. You really want to lend whatever it is that you're coming to that organization to do. That volunteer is going to want to lend more because they know the history. They know where you came from. They see where you are now, and they see where you're trying to go. So that's an extremely important piece to, the recruiting, getting to know them, checking their references. And now you're saying, hey, we want you to be a part of our family. We want you to be a part of our nonprofit family. And so you want them to know the history. You want them to know everything about what you've done and why you're doing what you're doing and what your goals are. That's so important in an orientation, because now they get to see how they can contribute moving forward. And if they can see themselves as an active participant, an active contributor to your nonprofit, they're going to volunteer in a way that is beyond just volunteering. And this is someone that is not charging you anything, not expecting anything monetarily, but just wanting to contribute to the mission. And that is an art form. You have to be able to make that connection through the orientation. Strategy number 3. Strategy number 3 is, as I was mentioning in the orientation, kind of setting it up for what are our goals in the future. Set your meetings, before we go there, when you have a volunteer pool of people, you have to have someone that's going to manage this pool of people. You have all these people that are excited, passionate about what it is that you're looking to do. You want to make sure that you assign what's called a volunteer chairperson. A volunteer chairperson, someone who's going to manage this, make sure they manage the volunteer meetings, make sure that, any messages from the board of directors or the executive director is then given to the volunteer pool. Or from the fundraising committee. Maybe the fundraising committee has dates, or the board of directors come up with an event that they're saying, hey, we need some volunteers. You want to be able to have that chairperson kind of be the conduit between the volunteer committee and the board of directors or the executive team. So you want to have that middle person, and you want to be able to have that middle person have leadership skills, have someone that really has a pulse of being able to be a good communicator back and forth, and being able to motivate and inspire the volunteers to keep coming. So that's strategy number 3. With that, now strategy number 4 is, at those meetings, now that you have, you got these pool of people ready to go, the worst thing that you can do as a nonprofit organization is have these pool of people ready to just get started to work and ready to volunteer for your company and ready to do what's necessary. And then what happens? There are no events. There is nothing to volunteer for. There is nothing for them to do. Right? That's the worst thing that you can do for a volunteer who's ready and wanting to, lend their time. You give them nothing to do. The first thing that volunteer, that they may let it slide the first time. They may give it some time and say, oh, maybe in a couple of weeks, maybe in a few weeks, we'll have something to do. If they see consistency with there's nothing to do, there's no one to call, there's no chain of command, there's absolutely nothing, they're going to lose the passion that they once had for your organization and your mission. because they see they don't fit. They see that this is not organized. And what they'll do is they'll lend that expertise, time, and resources to another organization that is more organized and does have something for them to do. So what you want to do, and this is something that I've been saying from the beginning, you have to have with your team, if you haven't done so already, you want to make sure that you're doing this, and that is conducting your annual strategic meeting. This is setting your goals for the next year and not waiting until January to do it. So this is a great time to do it around the summer. Start preparing for what is a successful year look like for you in 2024. What events do you want to do? How many volunteers are you going to need for these events? Put them on the calendar. Have a desk calendar, have an online calendar. I don't care what it is that you use, but start setting some dates so that way you can go back to your volunteers and start saying, look, we need to start preparing for this, and you can start assigning people to be able to do certain things. So whether it's that creating that flyer, putting things on your website, marketing, telling people about it, selling tickets, setting up the theme, what colors, and making phone calls to find out cost, and things like that. These are all things that volunteers can do. So this is something that from the minute they jump on board, they get in where they fit in. So if they're midway into the year, we still have future dates that we're working on. Here is where you can come in and you can assist. Here is where you can come and contribute. So set your meetings up to constantly and continuously be able to, manage it where you are leveraging the volunteer opportunities that you have. You want to leverage that expertise that they have, the time that they're giving, and making sure that you're giving it towards something. So if your fundraising committee have events that are coming up for fundraising, you have to have a setup. You have to set up things. You have to break down things. You want to have volunteers. So at this event, we need 6 volunteers. We need 6 volunteers, 2 for setup and breakdown. We need the other 4 to do whatever it is that you're doing. But make it clear again so you can leverage on your volunteer pool. And if you have a whole year, this gives them something to look forward to, like, oh yeah, I couldn't volunteer in that particular event, but I can volunteer at this event. It keeps them going. It keeps them going, right? So that's strategy number 4. Strategy number 5 is you want to provide training opportunities for your volunteers. And I know this may sound crazy. You're like, why am I pouring into a volunteer? They're just coming here to, devote their time to the organization. You want a cohesive team, right? So you may want to have, even if it's just once a year, have some type of team building training for your volunteers. Have some type of, creative thinking, training for your volunteer base. Why? Because you want to be able to pour into them so they'll pour back into you. When you give, what do they say? It's better to give than to receive. When you give, people give back. That's just the natural nature. When people feel appreciated, when people feel like, wow, you care about us, you genuinely care that we're going to be working at optimal level, then they're going to pour that back into your organization because you're the one that's pouring into them. So you want to have these opportunities, and you make it fun. You make it fun for them. You have your t-shirts. You make it a casual day for them to come. You make it a half day. You actually have a facilitator come out and do some fun activities while there is a message that you are sending, which is everything that you're learning at these team building, exercises that we're doing, these team building workshops, these creative workshops that we're doing, these strategic, planning, and whatever it is that you have for your volunteer base. You want to make the connection. Once again, that's the art of volunteer management, is that everything you're pouring into them connects back to the nonprofit organization. We're doing this because we want you to be able to work as a maximum team, for other people to see how your volunteer base works and say, I want to be a part of that team, because they see the cohesiveness, they see the joy, they see that, volunteers, this is not us just coming to an organization and volunteering time, but that they really can see that family energy. They can see that synergy between the organization as well as the volunteers and vice versa, right? So they can see that, and that in and of itself is a pull for someone else to say, hey, I want to be a part of that volunteer team, because they really work well together and they really contribute to the mission of the organization. And I love the mission of the organization, so I want to contribute to that. So training and putting them through some fun activities, making it fun. And there, I have a plethora of different, ideas, because that's what I do as a nonprofit strategist, that you can do with your volunteer pool to make sure that they want to stay within your organization. And strategy, and last but not least, strategy number 6 is you want to thank your volunteer base as often as you can and out loud as you can. So what do I mean? You have an online base, make sure you're thanking your volunteers, making sure that at those events that you have, whether it's a fundraiser, whether it's, any other type of event that you're having, a gala, anything else that you're doing, make sure that your volunteers that help make that possible at those events, make sure in front of everybody, you are thanking your volunteer pool. And if they're there, ask them to stand up so that way people can see who is there, so that way they can go and thank them personally if they choose to do so afterwards, but that you are giving them a platform to say, we have gratitude for you. We have gratitude for what you do. And we couldn't do what we do as an organization without your assistance. If you have a newsletter, make them a volunteer of the month, maybe, but appreciate them out loud. So that way they can see that you see them and that you appreciate them. So those are our 6 tips and 6 strategies for the art of volunteer management. So to recap, you want to define the roles that you're looking for in your volunteer base. You want to recruit. So meaning you want to be strategic about who you have in your volunteer base, not just anybody. You want to recruit, and then you want to make them fill out an application so that way they know this is a selective process. 3, you want to 2, you want to make sure that you have an orientation. Share with them your mission, your goals, your history, and where you're going. You want to assign a volunteer chairperson. Make sure you have someone that is going to be the conduit between the executive team and your volunteer committee. Number 4, you want to make sure that you have events and things for them to do, things for them to be able to get right in and start working, start contributing to, and start being a part of. Number 5, you want to make sure that you provide some training, some fun activities for them on a maybe biannual or annual basis, where they can really become a team, where they feel like a family and that they feel like they're being poured into, so they'll pour back into your organization. And last but not least, strategy number 6 is make sure that you thank your volunteer base as often as you can and out loud as you can. So that is our 6 strategies for today. If you found that our strategies for mastering the art of volunteer management was beneficial to you and some food for thought, for yourself as a founder or an aspiring founder, and you want to be able to do better in that category, and you may want to have a fun day for your volunteer base, please reach out to me, Asia Nasir, at Utopian Enterprise Biz, B-I-Z, solutions@gmail.com, or you can reach out to me through my website at www.utopianenterprisebiz.com. And you can reach out to me and we can have a consultation about coming, and me coming to facilitate one of those fun training days for your nonprofit organization. I promise you, I've done it with other clients before, and the founders could see immediately after the training and after the volunteer days that we were able to provide, they could see the difference that it leveraged on their volunteer pool of individuals. So you want to be able to leverage and maximize on your volunteer base, because volunteers are, I don't care what anybody says, your volunteers are the heart of your organization. Without volunteers, you cannot function as a nonprofit organization. And if you don't give your volunteers is just right, and if you don't give your volunteers, the recognition, the acknowledgement, the pouring into, and the strategic strategy streamline process for them to be able to join your family, you're really gonna do your organization a disservice and the community that you're looking to serve. So once again, if you found this beneficial, please reach out to me so we can set up a time for us to be able to do those trainings and set your organization up for mastering the art of volunteer management, working with your volunteer base. And if you want to learn more about volunteer, as I mentioned before, in my book, you can pick it up and on Amazon, and it has a chapter all dedicated to volunteering, and mastering the art of volunteer management. So I thank you for this morning, and I wish you, a very productive and impactful week. And I'll be seeing you next week for another nonprofit content that I know you will benefit from. Talk to you next week.